the breach phase is the cool new phase of Chimera Squad. It's the thing that really differentiates it from previous XCOM titles when it comes to your basic tactical situations. But it's also not explained very well in game, so I just want to go through a few things that are quite important to me. One is just how to read this. So firstly, down the bottom right hand corner, you get told how many encounters you're going to have. So here, since we know it is only one encounter, like a lot of side missions, you can just use all the resources you happen to have. The other piece is here you can see the number of enemies you're going to be able to see. So you got 4 enemies, so we're definitely not going to get rid of all of them. And then finally you got your penalties and bonuses. So these are randomly generated. If I were to restart this mission, I will get a different set of bonuses or penalties. And since they're randomly generated, especially when you got multiple, you can have things that make no sense, like the last unit through goes on Overwatch, but the last unit through has their weapon disabled. So let's take a quick look at one last thing that is kind of confusing. So when you're setting up your breach order, you want to keep in mind your various unit abilities, but you also want to keep in mind equipment. The game really doesn't do a good job of highlighting this. If you have a useful breach item, guess what? It's got to go in the second slot, and that's the only time that you will be offered the choice to actually take this. And this does not replace the breach fire action, it is in addition to it. And if I were to happen to instead put Torque in place by replacing Cherub here, I don't get offered that choice. So you actually have to remove Torque, add Torque again, and then you get that ability. And this is true of any breach point. So the only times in which you can use breach items, and it's specifically breach items, are when you have at least 2 people on a breach point, because the first person through is either the person is needed to open the door or blow open the wall, or it is just anyone. It is worth noting that if you have an ability that can be used on a breach, like say Terminal's heal ability, that can be used from any slot other than the first. So you've got this kind of combination of factors that may determine whether or not you can use something. This does mean that you will need at least 2 two-person slot doors to use 2 separate breach items. Like I said here, so we've got 5 enemies here. So if we run in, we will actually see 5 enemies pop up in this. There we go. One of whom is aggressive, and they will fire back. Alright, well, let's go take a look at the next one. So if we load a save from the strategy layer and relaunch the exact same mission, we're going to get a newly generated set of bonuses or penalties on this breach point. So there we go. So sometimes if you're not playing an Iron Man game, you may on higher difficulty levels want to reload to get a new encounter. And this is true of multi-stage encounters, so it's not true if you happen to have just one encounter and use the restart encounter or restart mission button. But if you were to load an earlier save because of like a crash, and it's just before the previous encounter ended, then you'll see newly generated bonuses for your next encounter.